Welcome to Furious Recaps. In today's video, we will be going through the 2009 sci-fi thriller movie District 9. Turn on subtitles and spoilers ahead. A TV documentary discloses a series of interviews taking its audience on a trip down the memory lane about Wikus, the MNU operative in a starship carrying 1.8 million extraterrestrial creatures from 2 decades ago. A starship shocks the humans as it brings itself to a standstill mid-air at the city of Johannesburg in South Africa, instead of stopping at Washington, Manhattan, and Chicago. News around the planet reports that the starship stays afloat for 3 months without interfering with the humans down below. With a lingering curiosity and argument, humans eventually unbolt the gates of the spaceship and discover a population of deceased and malnourished extraterrestrials. Humans think that it's going to be a historical encounter and a scientific breakthrough, the humans concluding that their leaders may have died of malnutrition and disease, enslaved the alien who, in any realm of possibility, could not go back to their home planet because of an irretrievable Starship Command module. After some time, the government permits the creature to abandon their ship and relocate them into a chronic area in a barren military compound with congested cabins in Johannesburg. The residents claim that the government strictly ensures the absolute separation of aliens and humans in Johannesburg. Still, their efforts went for nothing because the Nigerians feel tired of the lack of civilization and humanity among the extraterrestrial creatures, who operate their unique arms to steal and kill whoever goes against their instincts. The Nigerians denominate them as prawns, as they settle into consuming garbages. They lament that the aliens take everything in Johannesburg into their possession and turn it into ruins. The extraterrestrials took Johannesburg upside down with robbery, arson, rape, and murder, adding turmoil into the already miserable place where militarization and lawlessness prevailed. In the middle of chaos and dystopia, the multinational United, a private company that builds and sells weapons of destruction, enters into an agreement with the government to reduce the District 9 to ruins to coerce the aliens to transfer it into a more habitable area. The government plans to restore tranquility, pacification, and order among humans and aliens. MNU is instructed to do its job by evicting the whole population of aliens using a legalized UIU protocol. MNU appoints the primary role of the demolition to Wikus van der Marwe, a smart man with a gentle disposition. Wikus is a loving husband to her wife, whose father works as the head of the command in the MNU. Wikus, assisted by Cobus Venter, the head of the military operations, regulates the demolition and eviction at District 9. He feels oddly and awkwardly optimistic about the demolition that before they started deploying. Wikus starts questioning about the military operatives about the unnecessary load of bullets in their pockets. The forces head on a convoy to District 9 using military trucks and airplanes, and even before their first diplomatic agreement, they met hostile and violent extraterrestrials on the way. Even though Cobus and his troops believed in an armed eviction, Wikus persuades to make it diplomatic despite the hostility of the aliens. His team's violent correspondents subsequently killed most of their men. While serving the warrants and searching for illegal items inside the pods of the prawns, Wikus encounters a warlord named Obasanjo, who markets interspecies prostitution, cat food, and weapons to the aliens for their survival. After passing by Obasanjo's territory, the Wikus team found a shack with millions of alien offsprings fed off of a dead cow's protein. Wikus continues their eviction with all the remaining aliens in the area, and the documentary team records a child testifying that the weapons were small but destructive enough. Later on in the documentary, an analyst claims that the MNU took the contract because they were primarily drawn into the lethal force of their weapons. Still, the MNU had to study alien DNA for the biologically designed warcraft. Wikus and Cobus unexpectedly end up in the front of the shack of Starship's pilots, where Cobus ends up killing one of the pilots. Wikus is able to get inside the hut, where he meets Christopher, the only living pilot of the alien race. He finds a cylinder that contains a black fluid that subsequently sprays a volume into his face. He jolts uncomfortably as he wipes the fluid dry from his face. After he redeems himself from pain and the nauseating effect, he keeps the cylinder with the liquid in his vest for evidence. Wikus grows indisposed and sick while returning to the office after that demolition. He discovers unusual changes in his hands. As horror-stricken as he is, He forges home to deliver the news to his wife, but ends up fainting at the surprise party that she has thrown for him. She brings him to the hospital where the doctors report to the MNU that his arm has mutated with that of Prawns. Her attention is called by a group of men who are young and who wrap his vulnerable husband in a special suit and seizes him while she hyperventilates. The MNU undertakes a series of tests with Weekus' body and eventually retrieves a cylinder of black fluid in his coat. By then, they suspect that Weekus is becoming treacherous against the MNU for not submitting the cylinder to the lab. The head scientist confirms beyond doubt that the alien DNA has finally taken over his veins, muscles, and half of Weekus' body functions. The flabbergasted Weekus struggles with all his might and he resists the experiment, but his father-in-law decides to capture all of that alien material from his body. Weekus musters his strength back and escapes from the MNU lab. He attempts to return home but finds MNU agents there. He miserably runs across the city as a citywide manhunt is being held against him. He finds temporary refuge in the slums of District 9, where he idles his night away. In the morning, he comes across with a familiar shack where Christopher and his little son reside. They come inside and is dumbfounded to see several computers reading incomprehensible code. He concludes that Christopher is one of the aliens' leaders and works underground to Shack to make the command module work. Christopher reveals to the poor Weekus that he can help him go back to the human state by using the black fluid he confiscated days ago, but Weekus has to compare to help Christopher fuel up the engine. Weekus admits to Christopher that the lab took the black liquid from him, and when he was captured, Christopher feels hopeless as they don't have any weapons to ransack MNU. Weekus remembers Obi-Sanjo and spirits there with Christopher. They hit up on a group of men mocking Weekus for allegedly engaging sexually with an alien. But after losing focus, Weekus manages to steal alien weapons from Obi-Sanjo's camp. Obi-Sanjo curses him and shouts a promise to take revenge and eat his mutated arm for power when he meets them again. Weekus and Christopher triumphantly transgress against the MNU's headquarters and steer to the laboratory, where they begin their search for the cylinder. Christopher loses his focus on retrieving the cylinder after seeing the remains of his race in a laboratory. Christopher and Weekus end up fighting after satisfactorily taking the cylinder and returning to their shack. Weekus ends up knocking him over and runs the engine of the command module itself. The military operatives raise one of the engines to the ground after a blow, and Weekus collides together with the command module. The MNU operatives, which Cobus led, arrest Weekus, but Obi-Sanjo's gang takes over Weekus, and after defeating the MNU operatives, believing that eating a limb will give him destructive powers, Obi-Sanjo orders his gang to shear Weekus' arm. While that is happening, Christopher's son operates the command module and sets a mechanical suit that attacks Obi-Sanjo and his gang. As Weekus is set free, he enters the battle suit and comes to rescue Christopher from the MNU. He activates all the destructive features of the battlesuit and starts to slaughter the rest of the armed men. He collapses with a sniper's blow and begs Christopher to move back to the ship's module. Christopher objects, but without a choice, he leaves and promises to come back. To reinstate Weekus' body, Christopher and his son victoriously leave Johannesburg with the starship, and the humans watch it in awe and satisfaction as it ascends out of their sight. Meanwhile, the mechanical suit ejected Weekus after being disfigured. He quietly drags his aching body away from the suit until Cobus appears and enervates his powerless body. Cobus contemplates bringing him back to MNU, but opts to shoot him. He was about to pull the trigger when the other prawns emerge to Weekus' salvage and dislimb him. Finally, it shows Weekus' wife holding a metal rose which she claims to have been left by Weekus on their doorstep. Her speculation could have been confirmed as his husband, who loves making her handmade gifts, sits in a junkyard in Johannesburg while holding a metal rose completely mutated. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to get new movie recaps.